I don't know about you, but I've always found this long weekend to mark that fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the traffic is lighter, our college students are home, we have 2 serving today, and we see pumpkins and fall decorations around. The other day I was at CVS and they had fall decorations on sale. And I noticed a number of signs that said thankful or gratitude or blessed. And certainly when our consumeristic society thinks fall, they think of next month's holiday, of Thanksgiving. But we as a church know that having an attitude of gratitude is not something that's limited to the season of fall, but rather should be a part of who we are as disciples and as Christians. And we are reminded of that by today's gospel, the cleansing of the 10 lepers. This is actually the same gospel that we'll hear on Thanksgiving Day, but I think hearing it this day emphasizes to you and to me the importance of gratitude and the role it plays in our faith. 10 lepers are cleansed, are healed from leprosy, but only one of them returns to thank Jesus for healing him. And the one who returned, the Samaritan, was a foreigner. In the time of Jesus, Jews and Samaritans generally did not have the best relationship with one another, making it almost unheard of that a Samaritan would be the one who comes back to express his gratitude. And the others really should have known better. People with leprosy lived in exile from the rest of society. They even stood at a distance from Jesus when they called to him. So we see that Jesus is living in relationship with people who are often ignored. And so the Samaritan's gratitude was profoundly heartfelt. Thus, you and I are challenged this afternoon by the example of the Samaritan to examine our lives and see what level of gratitude we have to God, who is the source of all of our blessings. Gratitude can only enhance our faith. Why? Because the level of a person's faith can be measured by the amount of thanksgiving and gratitude that he or she directs to God. It can be easier said than done. First, we can all think of the things that we're grateful for. God himself, our faith, our family, our life, our job, our education, a talent, even the ability to make money is a gift from God himself, or a person in our life who radiates the love of Christ. Whatever it may be. But on the contrary, we know that for some it can be difficult to give thanks. How can I be grateful when I've received a medical diagnosis that I'm afraid of? How can I be grateful when somebody I love was taken from me so suddenly? How can I be grateful when so many are suffering in Florida and must rebuild everything? These are tough questions. But I think the answer is that we can and need to be grateful for our faith. Gratitude takes a great deal of spiritual work. It's much more than a sign in a department store. Just take a look at the cross. Jesus suffered and died for you and for me. Perhaps in retrospect, the trials that we have endured, the heartbreak that we have suffered, the shock that we have faced, have been opportunities for us to grow in our faith. Opportunities for us to become more aware of God's love for you and for me. While we may not be grateful for the pain that we have experienced, we can be grateful that we've grown in faith as a result. And once we do that, we can claim the fullness of our being as a gift from God himself. I think that another challenge for us as people of faith is that we can presume that God knows that we are grateful. So often our prayer, I know sometimes with me, can be a laundry list of things that we need from God, rather than also taking the time to thank him for all of our blessings. So often, I know that I take for granted that I'm able to receive Jesus in the Eucharist daily, that I'm able to be forgiven for my sins and my brokenness and in my weakness, that I'm privileged to serve at his altar, and that there have been people like you that have been placed in my life and love me. So often we take for granted that indeed our faith has saved us, and just presume that God knows that we are thankful. But the reality, friends, is that when we thank God, we get in touch with the most deepest, most beautiful truths of our faith. When we say thanks, we experience the goodness of God. We realize more deeply that because of God's gift, we exist. We have existence and life. Not only that, but we realize that God takes us as his own son or his own daughter. Not only that, but we realize that God has given us a life that survives death, a life that is eternal, glorious, happy. So what does the Samaritan's gratitude teach us about our faith? Interestingly enough, Jesus tells the Samaritan, the healed person, "Your faith has saved you." He does not say, "You are healed," but instead promises salvation. Jesus lauds the faith of that one who might typically be regarded as faithless. So we might conclude that in recognizing the blessing the Samaritan had received, that one leper was led to put his faith in the Lord who had cured him. And perhaps his example teaches you and me that the more we appreciate that all God has done for us, from bringing us to life to holding us in existence at this very moment, the more our faith will grow. Thus, as people of faith, we are reminded that thanksgiving and gratitude are not limited to the season of fall or the fourth Thursday of November, but rather each and every day. No matter how difficult our days are, if we can go to bed and thank God for the fact that we are loved by him, that he died for you and for me, and that we have the privilege of receiving Jesus in the Eucharist, then our faith will grow. In a month or so, the thankful and gratitude decorations will be gone, and Christmas wreaths and trees will replace them on the store racks. Will we put aside our sincere gratitude until next fall? Or will we, like the Samaritan, as people growing in our faith, remain grateful all year long?